I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.
Welcome to my horror house. We are still looking at a Resident Evil movie a day, and we are at film number 5. Now, they say nothing good can ever last forever, and that's certainly proven true here. After the 1-2 punch of Extinction and Afterlife, we get Resident Evil Retribution, aka the one with all the clones. As is now customary, we pick up where the previous film left off, a little sting, a sort of to be continued OMG moment from the end of the last film is generally wrapped up quite quickly and done away with at the start of the next movie. I'm going to dig into that tomorrow with the final chapter, but safe to say Umbrella's assault on Arcadia is done and dusted in a few minutes over the opening credits, and then we can move on to, oh no, this is actually the story we're going to tell. Which is not to say that the opening sequence is bad. Clearly Paul W.S. Anderson is having an awful lot of fun. In fact, over the opening credits, he plays out the assault on Arcadia in reverse and slow motion. It's a gorgeous thing to look at. Then we get a little bit of exposition to bring the stragglers up to speed, and bang, the opening sequence footage we saw in reverse plays out at normal speed again. Alice gets dumped in the water. That idea gets dumped. And then we're into Resident Evil Retribution. A classic piece of resi movie, wrong footing, then sees us plonked straight in the middle of suburbia with a housewife, Alice, seemingly married to Oded Fehr's character, who is dead, and they've got a daughter, when all of a sudden, zombies attack. It's a sort of suburban zombie home invasion scenario that's really reminiscent of the opening scenes of Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead. How does it all fit together? What's going on? Who cares? It just looks great. Let's go with it. This is the Resident Evil movie that's done a fat line of coke in the bathroom and has come back and started yammering at you 10 to the dozen. We find out that Alice is being kept in an underground, underwater Umbrella facility, the testing floor, where they have loads of different scenarios around the world where they tested out the T-virus in relative safety. The Tokyo, there's Moscow, New York. There's clones, characters come back from the dead. More characters from the games are just bunged in. Hang on, is that Ada Wong? And do I recognise those curtains? I surely do. That's got to be Leon Kennedy. Jill Valentine's back, but she's got one of those glowing spider things on her chest, the mind control tech, and is now one of the baddies working for Wesker. I mean, for crying out loud, Michelle Rodriguez is back. Twice as 2 different characters at least. It's a sort of, let's throw a party, let's get the gang back together and hang the sense of it kind of movie. So while we're here, it's time for Who's That Brit? Returning as one of the many returning clone characters is Colin Salmon in an absolutely thankless role where he has really nothing to do but shout and fire a gun in a corridor and then die. And as mentioned moments ago, Sienna Guillory returns as Jill Valentine in possibly an even more thankless role. She has a lot more to do than poor old Colin Salmon, but she's being asked to do it in a leotard that should really zip up at the front, but obviously her outfit is designed to be a sort of Wonder Bra push-up selling point for the advertising. So dead characters are alive, good characters are bad, bad characters claim at the end to be good. This is an absolute soap opera mess of a movie. The various different test scenarios, the suburban area, the Tokyo, Moscow, Russia environment makes this a sort of psychotic crystal maze and just allows us to bounce from one environment set piece to another without really needing to join up any of the dots. I mean, even all your favourite baddies return. In the New York scenario, the giant Axeman executioner character from Afterlife returns, and it's the rule of Jurassic Park The Lost World. What's better than 1 T-Rex? 2 T-Rexes. So here we get 2 Axemen. Now yes, it is nonsense and it does make you go, But I do love that Axeman character, and I really do dig this New York action sequence. And in Moscow, you've got a zombie Red Army. It's all a sort of ADHD Resident Evil. And nothing of real consequence happens. So at the very end on the ice, there's a fight between Alice and Michelle Rodriguez's character, whoever she is now, and the evil Jill Valentine. And it's a big flashy punch up. It's Shakespeare would call it sound and fury signifying nothing. It's a very flashy movie. It looks sexy and great, but it's a placeholder. It has no soul to it. It doesn't move the story of the franchise on at all. It's a nice little diversion to the overall trajectory of the franchise. A little stroll down a cul-de-sac at the end of which you go, oh, well, that happened. Almost saved at the end by some underwater zombies, which are always welcome, and an absolutely insane coda at the end of the film. We're in familiar territory now whereby a Resident Evil film will stick a sting at the end and get our saliva glands going, hopefully for a sequel to find out what happens next. This is the biggest Colombian bump of them all. It's set in the White House. Wesker has taken up residency at the Oval Office and they're under siege by the armies of the dead. He wants Alice on his side because this is, as he calls it, humanity's last stand. We get another one of our Paul W.S. Anderson trademark final shot pullbacks to reveal the White House under absolute siege by the armies of the dead, including now flying creatures. This truly is the end times. What on earth? The next film, the final film, is surely going to be a heavy metal album cover from start to finish. We'll talk about that tomorrow.